All right, welcome back, you guys. If you are a creator and you want to learn how to land more repeat partnerships with high quality brand partners, this one is for you. We have some good little tidbits on this episode.
We do. Let's get started.
So first up and often overlooked is responsiveness and communication, whether that's from you as the creator or from your talent management team. Responsiveness, not in the sense of just like mass blasting off emails, but responsiveness is there is a lot of back and forth when it comes to campaigns and the domino effect that your potential communication or lack thereof has on brands and ad agencies. It's super important to be paying attention to your inbox and be responding in a reasonable amount of time. We don't mean responding in days or weeks or months. At that point, it's like, might as well move on to someone else.
Yeah, and you don't have to be sitting there waiting for your phone to go off and get an email each time. But yeah, I mean, the reality is not everybody's hardwired to be kind of that, have that responsiveness naturally and just have that quick follow-up. And that's okay. So the thing is just being aware of it. And if you have to find ways as a creator, we recommend finding ways to have that responsiveness or make you better at being responsive and following up as soon as you can. And sometimes that means even hiring like an assistant or someone who can kind of vet your emails and kind of move those along, especially if you're working with a talent management team. That assistant can push those emails to your talent management team to continue the conversation. Otherwise, a lot of times what we see is creators are like, if the ones that we even talk to who want to join talent management is a lot of times they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad at responding to emails. I go days or weeks without even looking at my email or my inbox. And then I see I missed a campaign 5 days ago. They wanted a response right away. So we see that often. And that's a lot of where this is coming from. But even like you said, getting repeat brands and agencies coming back is a big thing.
Big thing with responsiveness. Second up is being reliable, which kind of goes hand in hand with being responsive, because reliability pretty much overtakes anything else, whether your content is bomb or not. Reliability stands out and matters so much today because there are so many creators. There's so much noise in the space. So any way to set yourself apart, that's really what we're talking about from a professional standpoint is in this episode, and reliability is a big piece of it. Reliability meaning you follow through on your dates, your deadlines, or you're communicating and being responsive and working back and forth with a brand or through your talent management team, making sure you're communicating with them on, did you receive product or didn't you? If you have deadlines coming up, do they work for your schedule still? Like not missing the beat when it comes to that, because again, it is a business and it's a domino effect on the brand and ad agency side when things are not followed, and there are dates and deadlines for a reason. So it's a big piece of even what we take into account when we're talking to creators on how much they pay attention to that. And to your point, some of this does not come naturally. We have plenty of type B, type C, type Ds in our group, and we love them. It's just more so about finding ways in which, whether it's your talent management team or you with your assistant or just you solo, can make yourself more efficient in those areas and pay more attention to those aspects of this as a job at the end of the day.
Yeah, and even if you're a creator and you have a talent management team, being reliable yourself as a creator towards your talent management team goes a long way, because it shows that even the talent management team can then follow up sooner to the brand or agency. And so they're not sort of waiting around a lot of times. And that's something we also see. Or even if you're working directly with brands or agencies, once you lock in a campaign, showing that you are reliable from the start goes a long way.
Well, we've seen continual repeat casting for creators who show higher reliability over higher content level of creation.
For sure.
And I'm not saying that content creation does not matter. It's a massive piece of this too, but reliability is oftentimes what we hear with repeat casting.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's more important a lot of times where you could have the best content, the best engagement, but if you're not reliable, you're probably not going to get
the same level of repeat partners.
Yeah, they're probably not going to come back again.
Okay, so being consistent with your paid content should align in the look and feel of your organic content. So I know it's easy to be like, I'm so passionate about my organic content, and that's awesome. Like, you should be, because this is your job as a content creator. But you should also be just as equally excited and passionate about creating the same level, whatever that looks like to you, for your paid partners. And if it feels like you did it in 5 minutes right before you delivered it to the brand because it was due that day, the brand is going to notice, or the ad agency is going to notice. They're going to feel when you actually put the same amount of time and effort into your content as you do for your organic content.
Yeah, and a lot of that even comes back to taking on campaigns that you only feel good about, that creators want to work with, that a brand that they would actually use, or a product that they would actually use.
Exactly.
If you're taking on stuff that isn't a natural fit anyway, you're going to feel more uncomfortable trying to make it not feel like an ad. And then a lot of times it just looks so different than from your organic content. And then a lot of times the brand or agency says, yeah, this isn't what we were expecting. Like, this is completely off. She wasn't herself, or they weren't their normal personality. And a lot of times that's what we see from a standpoint of, if you're taking on campaigns that just aren't a good fit.
I agree 100%. And also, you don't want them as a repeat brand partner. So
Right.
for sure, being selective, because you will be more passionate about it. Also, we understand it can be hard sometimes because some brands have lengthier briefs or approval processes. But ultimately, again, having that responsive, open communication and dialogue. If they're a repeat partner, you want them to be a repeat partner. It should be something where you can flag it to them as saying, hey, maybe this brief feels a little bit too scripted, or it just doesn't feel super authentic to me. Even if the brand itself is fully aligned, or the theme and the messaging is fully aligned, maybe it's how the brand or ad agency is conveying how you need to shoot. So then go back to them and share some ideas on how you can make it feel more natural and more organic, so that it's a better experience for them as the brand and agency when it goes live, because the consumer is going to care more. But also, it shows that you genuinely care about their brand and business. It's not just coming at it saying like, oh, this doesn't fit me. It's like, sure, maybe it doesn't feel as authentic to you, but also it should be about the brand and the agency and how you're trying to help them. Ultimately, they're paying you for the service, so you want to deliver a really good result for them. So it's having that kind of open dialogue, open connection, and not feeling like you're rushing something last minute, because all of those things lead to the brand feeling like they're an afterthought, or maybe you should have just flagged it up front that it didn't feel that authentic. And the brand could have said, oh, I would have loved to have heard that.
Yeah, we even see cases where we know this comes up sometimes, where the brand or agency, they want it to feel kind of like a fun, creative ad. Like, they want it to be obvious. And I think those are the cases where obviously it makes sense to, kind of it doesn't have to obviously fit perfectly with your style of content, because there are cases where we're like, okay, we want to make this kind of fun, make this more of like almost like a commercial or like an ad.
Like a viral feeling thing.
Exactly. And if it's part of a bigger campaign, right?
Right. And I was going to say, it doesn't mean that it does not fit with your content. It just pops more on your feed, or it pops more in terms of like your tone of voice. It's a little bit more exaggerated and exciting, sensationalized, shall we say.
Sensationalized.
Oh, I like that word.
I like that.
All right. Also, big one. Please, ladies and gents, and anyone in between, please do not post back-to-back in feed ads on any platform consistently. Sure, it may happen once in a while, especially towards holiday season, but it's really important to have a backlog of some organic content that you can break up your ads in between. One, for your community's sake, but also for your brand and agency partners. No one loves seeing, especially even in similar categories, back-to-back ads. It can create a level of like, oh, this person is showing up just to post ads. And that may totally not be the case. It may be that you just got super slammed with shooting your ads or your paid partnerships that week that you didn't have time to shoot organic. So it's really important to carve out time that you can have a backlog of organic content, so that you don't feel like, crap, I don't have anything else to post. I'm going to have to post a back-to-back ad, because that's a real big no-no.
Yeah, it doesn't look good. And like, we know there are cases, like you said, where
Sure.
something comes up, or just timing, the way it works, you almost have to post back to back. However, in those cases, we recommend communicating with the brand or agency, letting them know, hey, here's the deal. We can either keep this where it is or move it, but like I already have this other thing, this other commitment I have to post on this day. Or if it's on a different platform, sometimes it can work if you have to post back to back, even though they're on different platforms. But we totally recommend making sure you're communicating with the brand or agency, letting them know what's going on both sides, both brands.
Yes.
Otherwise, it feels like you're sort of hiding it and like you're trying to make sure nobody sees it, but like it's obvious.
Or you just don't. It looks like maybe you just don't care. And that's the other thing too, is giving brands breathing room in between past brands. It's like you want, again, the brand to view you as an organic, impactful, reliable content creator who genuinely cares and has an audience who would genuinely trust you as a creator. So you're just posting back-to-back ads consistently in feed, especially, that can flag to them like, that's just that vibe of that creator. So maybe we'll end up focusing on someone else who doesn't do that, because there are plenty of creators who are thinking ahead and not doing that.
Well, and then you also run the risk of, if you don't say anything and you post back ads, you upset both brands and you kind of turn them off for the future. Now there's two brands that you potentially might not be able to work with. So being open, keeping that line of communication open, letting them know what's going on with your posts, which is always a reason why you should be posting when it's planned with the brand and agency anyway. You should be posting on the days that are planned, versus kind of just posting whenever you want. Yeah.
And I think, and that goes back to reliability. And sure, this is where it gets tricky when brands do change dates or have different launches happening on different dates
which happens all the time.
Yes. That you had not anticipated. So dates are often shifting and in flux. And to your point, it's like, don't hide it. If it ends up being something that the brand's like, you know what, we have to post on X date. And you're like, okay, I need to check with my other partner first who's planned for the next day. Do I have organic content planned that I can post later that night so that it breaks it up at least? So again, it's like, just over communicate in terms of what you have coming up and being reliable in terms of your calendar and how you're going about strategically posting, which also goes back to a little bit of flexibility. So dates change, briefs may adjust, things may happen. We've had it quite a few times recently where they're like, the brand is like, oh shoot, the product is not coming out at that time. Now it's pushed back a month. That launch has been pushed back. And instead of getting frustrated with that, again, this is just part of being in the ad industry. Like that, everything basically changes.
There are so many moving parts.
Yeah.
And just things that can change last minute that, yes, being flexible is super important, because you're helping the brand and agency. They're already under pressure to run. They're already working with multiple creators, or they have multiple things happening and they're trying to make sure it's going to run smoothly. And so the more flexible you are, they're going to remember that, and it just helps them, and they'll remember you're a reliable, flexible creator that they want to work with again in the future.
It's a positive experience,
yes,
ultimately. And
positive experience.
Yes. And that does not mean being taken advantage of by any means. There is a line to be drawn when you feel like, okay, this is really pushing the bounds. Like, this has been moved around so many different times that it's just, there's a line at which it becomes like, okay, now it's being uncool, or it's becoming uncool. But ultimately, you're here to be a good team player and a good partner, because you want them to be a repeat partner of yours. So some flexibility can go a long way, and it's often unexpected by the brand and agency who expect pushback, because so many creators or teams are doing that. So we're here, and with our creators, to make sure that we are having that understanding and that empathy for what they're going through on their side, and not just jumping to reacting for like, oh, this is frustrating, this is inconvenient. Of course, like all of those things are part of just, again, the ad industry, brand campaigns, and being flexible is what we're known for, what our creators are known for, without being taken advantage of. So I think there's a fine line and balance that you have to play.
Well, and there's a reason why even things like if a brand or agency asks for an edit or a change to your content, or cutting this out, or changing this, or adjusting your voiceover, there's a reason why they're asking for that. They're not trying to be annoying and just make you do more work. But obviously, like you said, you don't want to be taken advantage of. We get that, and we don't recommend that, obviously. But there is a reason that they're asking for those changes. And if it's reasonable and it's not kind of over an over ask in a way, then it's sort of like having that mindset of being flexible and understanding that there's a reason why they are asking for those changes.
Yes, exactly. And honestly, if it's a team that's just asking for way too many edits, way too many things, you don't want them as a repeat partner anyway. Yeah. We're just talking about those that you really value and want to attract back again and again. Also, not showing a competitive brand, especially in the content that you're shooting. That should be a no-brainer. But competitive partners, brands are sensitive to those that are competing with them. So even if it's not within your exclusivity, it's not clearly line itemed out, like don't work with X brand, within that next 2 weeks, 1 month following, be cognizant, even if it's not said, or a brand who's pretty flexible being like, oh no, there is no exclusivity. Just keep it in mind that they're still paying attention to what you're sharing, how you're sharing it. And sure, if you're in the fashion space, you're in food and bev, people expect you to share different fashion brands or different food and bev brands, or if you're in the home space, different home partners. But for those that directly overlap, be cognizant and be respectful of your partners, whether or not it's been called out by them, because it does go a long way. Mm-hmm. So integrate that partner more.
Well, and especially when being cognizant around the time when you're going to be posting, yes, or when you lock in a campaign with them or a partnership with them, if it's long-term or if it's a couple posts, being aware of not showing those competitor brands, in that kind of time range, because it can go a long way, especially even if you don't have exclusivity. It just shows that like, hey, I'm excited to be working with this brand, with you guys, and I'm not going to be just kind of showing other brands because I don't have exclusivity. I don't have to. Yeah. It does go a long way. But obviously, on the other hand, we're not saying you should never show other brands in those categories, because over the long term, because that shows that your community does like that kind of content, and those are the kind of products that you use anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just more so around those time ranges that you're going to be partnering or doing the campaign,
right?
Making sure that even if you don't have exclusivity, just not showing competitor brands.
Yes. Or if you have any question around it, we had a situation recently where one of our creators, actually two of our creators who are part of a long-term partnership, super respectful creators, they had some similar types of brands that they wanted to share and some really cool content that they had shot organically. And they went ahead and asked us our opinion. And for us, we were like, this could kind of ride the line of like if it's appropriate or not. So let's just go ahead and just ask the agency that we're working with, hey, what are your thoughts? How does the brand feel? And sometimes they're like, brand doesn't care, like totally fine, no problem, we have enough time. In this case, they were like, you know what, honestly, it's not part of your exclusivity, but it says a lot about your creators who would even want to ask, because technically they could go ahead and share this. But our brand is more sensitive to that content, so it would be better for them not to. So we decided to not share that content, even though it was organic, and just having that open dialogue and communication showed the team that we respect them. And sometimes we hear, go ahead, go for it. But in this case, it was better to know like the brand is pretty sensitive to that, especially within this time frame. So be careful of competitive brands. The last thing that we feel is super important, again, we could go on a very long laundry list, but this is, again, just some quick snapshot of how to be a really good partner to increase your repeat high quality brand partners. Engaging with the brand partner, following them, especially during the campaign. If you're not following that brand that you're working with, I mean, if your audience clicks over to their Instagram or their TikTok page or their YouTube channel or whatever it is, if you're not following them on TikTok or Instagram or whatever the platform is, it can show a lack of authenticity. It can show a lack of just genuine engagement from you with the brand. So that's a really important piece, is to be engaged with your brand partner.
Yeah, even like things like, and obviously if you're just starting off with the brand, you're just testing out the product, you're trying out the brand for the first time, maybe you've heard of the brand, but you're like, you know what, I want to check them out first before I even go further with this or agree to do something long-term. Obviously, you don't have to jump on it and start following them right away, but eventually, if you're going to be partnering with them, yes, we definitely recommend you should be following them, engaging with them a little bit, showing them that you are interested and you actually are excited about their working with them and their brand. The other thing too is, even when whether you're showing it organically or for a sponsored post with the brand, is keeping an eye on comments, because a lot of times that's a great way to show the brand that you are engaged and you're kind of keeping tabs on those comments in your community and how they're engaging with that brand. Because a lot of times we see where a creator will post, or we'll see an organic post where they showed a specific brand, or maybe it was in the background. And a lot of times people are asking they have questions about the brand or the product. And sometimes we do see creators,
not in our group.
Yes, not in our group, but we do see sometimes, and this is something we even look at when we're considering representing a creator, is are they even answering those questions?
Right.
If they're just kind of either they're not commenting at all or responding, or they're just like really basic comments and responses, and they're missing like these really good opportunities to be answering and like engaging with those people and like promoting the brand a little bit more and just showing like they're answering questions. I think that goes a really long way.
Well, it shows you're knowledgeable on the brand. You genuinely care.
And the brands love that.
Yeah,
when they see that. Because sometimes what we see is the brand will jump in a lot of times if that goes unnoticed, or they just they don't answer those questions, or they're just not commenting on that post. A lot of times the brand will jump in eventually, even if it's organic, and they'll answer the question.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, that was such a great opportunity for the creator to jump in and like say, respond and say, how are they using it? And it just goes a long way with the brand.
Agreed. Yeah. And that doesn't mean that you should sit here and respond to your hundreds of comments every single day on that one specific post, but be engaged with the majority of comments on each of the posts that you're sharing organically, or especially when it comes to paid, because to your point, brands care about that, and we get it. You're busy. You have a million things going on as the content creator, but that level of care is really important, and it's something we pay attention to. It's something the brands pay attention to. So just spend some time each day in your comment section. It will go a really long way with the brand partners. So with that, we are going to wrap this episode up. We hope you guys enjoyed.